Oh, good day already. Good to go. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. I always say that on our Fridays, right? But happy Friday anyway. Only day of the week that I think you can say that on. Welcome, you guys. Very excited to have everybody joining us for our writing workshop. Thank you first and foremost to our sponsor, Owler, for participating and joining us today. If you guys don't know about Owler, really just great resource for you guys to have for all sorts of personalization, a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And you will see a drop in the chat that gives you access to an ebook that they've put together and also a discount 20% off to their Owler Max product. So take a look out for that as everybody joins. For those of you guys who are brand new to samsales, welcome. We're very, very excited to have you. I am Sam McKenna and the CEO of our organization. I am joined by Missy, who is the head of creative, who's responsible for the lovely graphics you're going to see today. I am also joined by Catherine, who is our head of partnerships and our chief of staff and wears about 19 other hats or so. We'll be leading our Q&A today, and also joined by Josie, who's our BDR. To give a shout out for BDRs and how tough that job is for them to do every single thing that we're going to talk about today. And that is our squad. Sam Sales is a consultancy. We've got 14 of us on the team. We're an all-female team. Let's hear it for all women in Women in Sales Month as well. And we do everything from a consulting perspective, teaching you how to write, teaching you how to social sell, building your executive brands on LinkedIn. What else do we do? Write sequences, talk about Show Me You Know Me, talk about discovery calls. If you have a challenge in sales, we can probably help you out. And we have almost 200 clients, 2 of which signed this morning, that we're helping out. So we would love to make you the lucky 200. Give us a shout if we can ever be of help. But for everybody that's joining us new, welcome. We're very excited to have you. And for those of you who already know us, welcome again. Very excited to see you again. Here's how we're going to run today. A couple of things. One, we're going to go through how to craft the perfect outbound email. I'm going to talk pretty quickly, which is not unusual, but we're going to talk through the whole perspective here. And then we're going to take your questions live. We have a few that are already teed up. Thank you so much for you guys that submitted them in advance. But if you have a question, or if you are so bold to want to share your email for us to break down live, help you rewrite, and then hopefully get a response, please feel free to shout out. You can pop a note in the Q&A and we'll flag out for that. And then we will direct message you and tell you where you're going to fall in line. But we'd love to see your content. Don't be shy. We're all friends here. And then just one other thing to mention, anything that you see here, you can access on our website as well. Also in our shorts, which is under our training videos on our website, samsalesconsulting.com. We have a ton of subscriptions there that will teach you everything that is in my brain and more. Probably put you to sleep this weekend if you were having any insomnia troubles. But we always offer a discount to that, which you will see pop up in the chat as well. And I think 5 minutes in, that does it for my housekeeping. So let's get to it. Again, for those of you who don't know me, I've been in enterprise sales my entire career. I've broken 13 records along the way. I've been an IC, an executive leader. I had the joy of working for LinkedIn before I started Sam Sales 4 years ago. So everything that we talk about and teach is really how I've been successful over time. And I think really brings some humanity and a little bit of a different appeal to the way that we show up for our clients. I think the bar is pretty low for what our buyers expect in sales. So here's an amazing way to stand out right out of the gate with the very first email that we send them when we're trying to prospect them. So let's talk about Show Me You Know Me. As you guys can see here, Show Me You Know Me is the art of doing our research in advance. And for an outbound email, it's how we stand out from the very first minute they hit us. So let's think about what that looks like for a subject line. When I look at everything that comes in our inbox, our subject lines are pretty not so great. And so let's see if I can get this a little lined up here. What do our subject lines look like? They look like Sam plus Bill connect, Sam inequality signs and somebody else connect. Quick question. Subject lines are really generic and they look like the same thing over and over. Or we've got some attempts at personalization at scale, which basically means you have a bracket plus another bracket, and then that's it. So it might say, your company name plus hashtag Sam Sales Consulting LLC in giant capital letters, initial conversation or connect. So things that make it look automated, and you sent this to me and 500 other people today. Then we also have really kind of not so great tactics, like we put an RE at the head of the subject line to make it look like we've reached out several times and bait the person to open up our email. So what I want you to think about is how we can stand out with the subject line and how we can be different. Everything that we talk about at Sam Sales is not how to work harder. We'll still do that, but how to work smarter and how to be different. So think about the research that you can do on the individual's LinkedIn profile and what's happening with their company specifically. This is where we can dig in and we can find something that's a great subject line. Where do they live? Where did they work before? Who do we have in common? What's written in their about section? What can you authentically connect with? What's going on with their organization? How is that in ties to what you can solve for, what you can help with? What have their executives recently talked about in a podcast or on a webinar or in an article? I'll give you just a quick hint here. So looking at the CEO of LinkedIn, a gentleman by the name of Ryan, had a great Financial Times article that basically talked about exactly how he buys. If you're just trying to sell to Ryan, go and look up that article. But one thing that's really, really cool is under his header picture on the Financial Times, it talks about how he makes decisions and how he buys. And one of the things that he mentioned is that he doesn't do these kind of large moonshot things. If you guys can hear my dog, you're welcome. He doesn't do these large moonshot things. He actually makes something called small pivots. So he makes small pivots, he tests the market out, and then he goes and he does something in a much more monumental way once he proves value. So what's going in my subject line? Probably something else that I read, plus small pivots in quotes, plus hashtag samsales. I want to catch his attention and say, I've done my research. I'm working hard to earn your attention because I'm asking you for time back. So if I'm asking you for that time, I want to make sure that I put that time in to researching you. Now, look at the subject line that we're showing here. Running podcast plus Chicago pizza. Now, for every single one of you, 93 people that are on the call, you are looking at that subject line and you're saying it makes absolutely no sense. And that's the intent. It was written specifically for the one person that this was written for. They have a podcast where they mention running and something about Chicago pizza. So if I write those two things, plus let's say hashtag samsales, right? I'm going to capture their attention simply by having this here. Then let's talk about the next most important part, right? Our subject line is the first piece. This is so important, but so is our preview text, right? The next piece that comes in information-wise. And that's where our first sentence comes in. Let's see if I can scroll. Maybe not. There we go. Come in there. My computer seems to not want to do something with me here. But, oh, there we are. First sentence. Okay. So how do we lead with the first sentence? What do we normally see? What we normally see is, hope this finds you doing well, happy Monday, or launching into companies like you use us for XYZ. So we go right into the sales pitch, or we use those two things like hope this finds you doing well, happy Monday, no such thing, right? To say, we don't really know what to say and we're pretty generic. So you can tell that this is a sales email out of the gate. So we want to think about these things here, but instead we'd recommend two things. So number one, think about how you have your show me you know me text in the subject line, but then in the first sentence, what do we have? We have yet to be properly introduced, but I'm Sam McKenna, CEO of samsales, etc. If you have this, first and foremost, you might be thinking, but I was told to never introduce myself, to never waste that space, right? To say, this is my name and this is what I do. It would tell you when you pair this language with that subject line, what you're saying to somebody is, we might have been introduced in the past, or we should have been introduced, or there's a reason why you want to open up this email. We have yet to be properly introduced, but the other thing to think about here is you don't have to say something very long, right? So you don't have to go long into, I'm part of the business development team that's responsible for your account, blah, 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 blah. You can just say, I'm part of the team here at samsales, and then go right into it. Or you can pivot and go right into the show me you know me. So let's say one of the things that you look at on my profile to try to get my attention, and you see that I have a lot of speeding tickets, and you might leverage that in your subject line. And then you might say, Sam, I have to know, how do you still have a driver's license? You might just start with that way, right? But pairing the subject line plus going right into the show me you know me, again, it stands out. I want to tell you two things here. So we recently had a chance to train the team at Four Kites in Chicago, which is no secret because August Hoffman, who leads the Four Kites team, has posted about us several times on LinkedIn very nicely. But here's something really cool that their rep did to win. And most of our clients see a turnout in a positive response with Show Me You Know Me in that very first week, if not those first few days. But here's what one of their SDRs did. They pulled a list and looked for somebody that they were trying to reach out to, the chief logistics officer of a $3.4 billion company, someone who's not really keen to respond, and found that they were in the same fraternity. So they pulled the line from their fraternity, the kind of mantra, they tied it to what they do as a business. And the chief logistics officer answered in less than 10 hours and said, of all of the emails that I get, of the 30 emails that I get in a day, yours is the one that stood out. Quality over quantity here. Send 20 of these a week and watch what happens. Another thing, I can probably talk about this, but the CRO of SalesLoft recently posted about his frustration on LinkedIn with the lack of personalization and the effort that was made. And he said, if you want to get on my radar, here's what I care about right now. So what did I do? I wrote him an email that very same day. I made a pun about one of the individuals that had commented on his profile. That's a good friend of ours, Toby at Seismic. And I put the pun in the subject line. I added some personalization. I made a joke in my email and I got a response in a meeting. So it really works, right? And it's not a silver bullet. There are no silver bullets. But when you think about that subject line plus that first sentence and pairing those things together, it works really effectively. Then let's talk about, well, great, how do we get on to what we actually came here to talk about? And one of the things we want to be mindful of is the transition. A lot of people will do some show me, you know me. Hey, Sam, see you went to FSU. Cool. Go Knowles. Hey, do you want to buy my stuff? No. So you need to make sure that there's a transition in there, right? While I could talk about FSU all day, while I could talk about my experience, while I could talk about your speeding tickets all day, the real reason for my outreach, however, is XYZ. Make sure there's that transition. With everything that you say in these emails, I want you to say these things out loud. And I want you to ask yourself, would you say this to a person? Would you actually verbally use these words? Would you say this to someone at a conference? Imagine you walked up to somebody at a conference and you're like, hey, fellow Michigan attendee, I love your shirt. By the way, want to buy my stuff? No, we would make a transition. So say these things out loud. I also encourage you to say the things out loud that you've been taught to say, right? Closings like, would it be the worst thing for us to get together for a meeting? Would you be opposed to meeting with me? Would you ever say that out loud? I would not. So be mindful of those things. Make sure you say them out loud and make sure they're things you would actually talk about. Cool. Moving on, let's talk about the challenge. So what is the challenge that person has? Read your emails that you guys are sending out, the sequences that you have, and I suspect they look like every sequence that we see. And it's a marketing email. Samsales offers world-class training. Want to buy some? No. What's the challenge the buyer persona has, and what is it that we can solve for them? So think about this. This is a great example for anybody who is joining us from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Here is your cheat sheet, right? But thinking about this, given the modern sales organization you are, I suspect that you're a LinkedIn Sales Navigator customer. I also suspect that your reps don't use it as much as you'd like or to the full breadth of its capability. Challenge, right? How do you solve that? What do you do? What is it that you can do to solve that challenge? Your prospect is going to read that and say, okay, and, right? Or if they're nicer than me, they'll say, I do have that challenge. And then what do? We talk about the value proposition. So saying that we do something isn't enough, because when we say, this is what we do you want some? We make it too easy for the buyer to say, already have that, don't need it, not a priority, not thinking about it, etc. We have to think about a challenge that they have. What we hear every single time on discovery calls are the 2 or 3 things we always hear. Pick one of those, the most important broad challenge, and talk about that in the email specifically. And then let's talk about what the value proposition looks like. So pulling this down, think about the specific hook that you can get them interested in, right? What the specific problem is your buyer has. What are the pain points? What will the buyer lose if they don't change jobs? The lose piece, or don't change jobs, don't change platforms or solutions. The most important thing to think about here is loss aversion. People are more inclined to look at something new or do something to prevent a loss versus get a gain. That's the majority of individuals. So keep that in mind, right? How do we think about that loss aversion versus we're going to increase your revenue by 38%, you and everybody else? The other thing I want you to think about with your value proposition is it specific enough to you? Can you take that value proposition? We're going to increase your revenue by 38%. Can you pick that up and drop that into your competitors' emails, right? So when we talk about what we do, world-class training, when we say we're a cloud-based solution that helps you automate XYZ, great. There's 1,700 of you out there that do that. What is it about you that's different? Why do you exist? What is your so what of your value proposition? If you think about this not only for your emails, but also for your discovery calls, how you multi-thread, how you connect with other people, this is where you make a difference in these emails. think this through. I also want to know the value proposition and the challenge needs to be buyer persona specific. If you are trying to sell to Sam Sales, your value proposition is going to be different for Missy, for myself, for Catherine, and for Josie, right? We all care about different things. We all make decisions collectively, right? If we're part of the same buying team, what matters to us and what's the so what of that? Then we're going to talk about length because you guys are probably like, this is a really long email. So don't worry, we will get to that. But think about the hidden or forthcoming objection. You've got a challenge. Here's what we know is going on with you. We can help you solve it. That's not enough. What you're often taught is shorter is better, right? So you should write short emails. They should be less than 50 words. They should be written in an F shape. Where do we come up with this stuff? Don't forget that you are selling to human beings. Gong data actually shows that the longer the email is, if it's personalized, actually works better. So when we think about this next step of the hidden or forthcoming objection, if I say, I suspect that your usage of LinkedIn Sales Navigator isn't great, and we can help you. Want to learn more? No. What is their objection? I have a CSM for that. I can call LinkedIn for that. We have internal experts on that. They're going to object. And what they're not going to do is reply to object. Why? Because they don't want to be argued with. So they're just going to delete and you're going to be like, no, please. So think about it in advance. Let's say they objected. Let's say they responded and said, we have a CSM for that. We don't need you. You'd be like, wait, we're different. We're different. Here's how we can help you. Just say that in the beginning. Convince them of that. The reason longer is better is one, you're competing against 20 to 30 some odd emails in their inbox every single day if you're going high enough. And then the second thing is you're also competing for their time. We are back to back to back to back. So imagine if they said, yeah, that's interesting to all 20 that cut through the noise in a weekly basis. They would have no time, but they'll take 16 seconds to read your email that's been thoroughly thought out, highlights a challenge, gives a so what value proposition, and gets around that forthcoming objection. So make sure we've got that. If you don't, right, this is why our emails aren't succeeding. And then let's think about the close. And to me, this is such an easy way for us to make a difference. So interested in learning more, we want to solicit for interest. Think less about the generic stuff that you typically see of like, I would love to schedule time with you. Do you have 15 to 20 minutes to chat this week? And why do we ask for 15 to 20 minutes and we schedule it for 30 anyway? So take those closes out, especially take out your calendar link. So for anyone that's doing outbound, even if you were doing something, you were responding to a referral, right? Let's say somebody external of Sam Sales sends us a referral. I am never going to respond to a calendar link with a calendar link, but it's so easy and convenient. Why? Here's the thing. When you respond with a calendar link, number one, you're putting the onus on somebody else. Even if you think it's easy, they have to pull up their calendar. They have to then look at theirs, then they look back at yours, then they look over here. They do all of that. And maybe the times still don't even work out. Or selfishly, the thing that I care the most about is booking the meeting today. Urgent bird gets the worm, right? If I can book the meeting today versus next Friday when you see that we have first availability, I'm going to do it. That can impact my deal for the quarter. It can impact my deal. Time kills deals, cliche, but so true. It can impact my deal in general. So I don't want to put a calendar link because I selfishly want you to tell me when you are available and I'll make it work. Otherwise, that person's looking at my calendar and they're working around what? My one-on-ones, my facial next week. Just kidding, don't have one of those yet. But they're working around my internal stuff that I can probably move to make sure that they are a priority. And then just a quick note on the sign off. There's lots of memes around best if you guys haven't looked them up and what that really means. But I just like thanks or cheers. Make sure that it's authentic to you, however you close. We want to make sure that you're not like, cheers, I can't wait. And then you show up and you're really flat and dry. So make sure it's just authentic to who you are. Okay, that does it for that. I stayed almost in time. I think I went a minute over what I predicted to Catherine. But with that, let me pause. Let's go to our first question. Let our audience get a word in edgewise and get kicking from there.
Awesome. Okay, so we have Sabriye that's coming on to ask the first question for today. So I'll let her give it a go.
Hello.
Hi, I would love to know if you have a prospect, and I saw someone else ask this question, but if you have a prospect that is just super nondescript, online and like almost impossible to find anything to connect with. How do you go about show me you know me?
Yeah, I think it's the worst when somebody has like effectively a tumbleweed going by on their profile and you're like, what the hell am I going to do with this? What I would say is utilize the company information. So what do we know about the organization and what's going on? That can be things around their principles, their best practices, how they raise money for charity, all sorts of things there, how that aligns with your own values and missions and principles. Again, example, maybe on LinkedIn, my heart starts to race when I think about LinkedIn's value proposition or principles, right? And their mission, and it's to create economic value for every human being out there. Be still my bleeding heart. And so even talking about that, about how inspiring that is, can be a great way to get in. Or just look at their recent mission press releases, news that they have. Even if they're a 30-person company, hopefully they have something resource-wise on their page. I'll give you just a quick good example there. An organization that we work with in the UK does something called social listening. So they listen to everything that's being mentioned about your brand online. And they're like, okay, we've been trying to get into this bank for a really long time and we can't get in. There's nothing available. Executives don't post. What should we do? And I'm like, well, let's just go look at the news. What's happening with their company? And we looked at the bank and we found that they had an initiative in like 3 or 4 years to double their revenue. And I'm like, cool, same. How are they going to do that? And how does social listening plug into that? How can you tie that as part of their roadmap? Why is social listening so important? How will that impact revenue? They're looking to double it. Reference that, pull a quote out, pull something and throw that in the subject line and then authentically tie it to what you can solve to bait and interest them and see if you can get a call. We're hopeful that there's something about the human that we can leverage, if not on their profile, in an article, in a podcast, in something. If there's not, then I would defer to the company information.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're from Emissary, right?
Yeah.
Amazing company. Go check them out. That's my plug. Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Sam.
Thanks, Zach. Cool. All right,
Awesome.
Catherine, over to you.
Okay, so now we actually have some examples we're going to pose to you. So we have Whitney coming on, who's going to run an email that she needs some help with.
Hi, Whitney.
Hey Sam, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm new to this job, as you know, from the last time we talked, and this is in the email that they have for the first sequence that we send out. I've not ever really been a fan of sequences. I've done work since before sequences existed, and
Same.
I also get bogged up with tasks from sequences, blah blah blah. So, so that's my thing on sequences, but. I will share my screen and I've got this first email going up. This is like the first email that goes out as written by my company. So please hold.
Cool. Got it.
Written by men, by the way.
Sorry, boys. Sorry, boys.
They did hire me because one of the reasons was because they needed a female touch. So I'm fully embracing that, and that's why I'm joining with you guys on all of these ventures here.
Thanks for coming.
So,
we're stoked to have you. Okay, so this is who are you reaching out to here? Can you tell us kind of this, maybe the size or vertical?
Yeah, so I'll show you a real client that I'm working with right now. Her name is Sharon here. She's a compensation professional. I work with HR benefits and compensation people, and this company Ripple is a financial services company that works with crypto technology. So I have Sharon. We've already met. We've done really well. I think the challenge here is that now I need to get to her boss, Adrian. She told me on our call, like, hey, I'm going to present this to her. Obviously, like, she was really hesitant about putting us in front of her right away, yada, yada. But there's lots of similar scenarios like this where I'm trying to reach out to the director of comp or the head of total rewards, and these are all enterprise companies. Ripple's really small, so I use this example, but I have, for example, Microsoft and Apple that I'm responsible for reaching out to. So this is really important to me.
Cool. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of things that I think are really important. Will be valuable for everybody on the line. Can you go back to Sharon's profile?
Yes.
Did you say her name right? You said Sharon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there any reason that you would reach out? So Sharon reports to Adrian. Is there any reason you would reach out to Sharon before Adrian versus just swinging your bat and going for Adrian?
So in this particular scenario, Sharon attended one of our webinars, cool. And that's how the conversation started.
Okay, sweet. Can you just scroll down and look at her profile a little bit? So first of all, I mean, like, great show me you know me with Eleanor Roosevelt. We can talk about that. Oh my God, there is so much information here. So really just wonderful stuff. Where I start and just looking at this is, one, can I align with the quote that she has? Is there, even if I can't align with this one, is there another Eleanor Roosevelt, quote that I can align with and say something else, just to show, again, I've done my homework and then authentically tied to it. I'd also just look where else she's worked, right? Has she been at any clients of ours before? Are there common connections that we can use? Is Amazon or Rogers Communication, any of that existing clients of ours? If yes, I would reference that immediately. Easiest show me you know me, a great LinkedIn Sales Navigator hack that you guys can use, by the way. But then I would use this information in your subject line to her. No time to Google it now, but I'm almost sure that Ripple funded the entire Donors Choose initiative a few years ago. I think, how long have they been around? A while?
Let's see, I have them up right here.
I'm almost sure this is the company.
2012.
Do a quick Google search, but I'm almost sure that Ripple did a really cool thing where they funded, if you guys don't know, Donors Choose is a fabulous organization to support teachers, but I think they funded every single project, and, like, I don't know, for $100 million or something like that, got unbelievable PR. So just a really cool thing. I was right. Thank you, Leah Cohen or Mary. I think two of you guys came in. Quick to the Google search. Thanks, guys. What a cool thing to reference, especially if she was there a while, or you can do that as a PS. By the way, PS, I'm so inspired by, yeah, she hasn't been there long. She probably doesn't even know. You're going to help educate her. Oh my God, we're going to blow the lid off. I'd add that PS and just say, I'm so inspired by that. How amazing is that? So pull these things into your subject line, but then let's look at the scary email that you have written. No Halloween pun there intended. Cool. So I want to just break down a couple of things, right? One, she attended a webinar. We have that to reference somewhere in here. What do we know? How long was she there? Did she download documents? Did she do anything? Q&A? If there's any of that, I would reference it, or I would just say, thank you, not here in the very beginning, but somewhere, and say, by the way, thanks for attending our webinar. I hope it was value to you. You can also use that as a way to spark the conversation. Thank you so much for attending our webinar, XYZ. Happy to talk at length about the topic. Was there anything that you didn't get out of it, etc.? In the meantime, I'd love to talk to you about how we can support you in XYZ. So that could be great. Show me you know me that you'd lead with. I would say in the subject line, make sure that's there. For the show me know me. For the body, are you open to? So these are words that I actually hate in sales, and I hate. Sorry. Hopefully your
no, you're
bosses aren't on
fine.
the
I'm
line.
not getting responses. So and I didn't write this. So go for it.
Hopefully Josh Braun didn't either, who's a friend. So my fingers are crossed there as well.
And I know it all says Josh Braun sequence, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I like Josh Braun.
Me too. He's pretty smart if you guys don't follow him. Are you open to? I want you guys to think about when you hear these words. Are you open to helping me move? Are you open to giving me a reference before I really deserve it? Are you open to giving us introductions now that the ink is dry and you have absolutely no idea what we're going to deliver that we've sold you? Are you open to? Makes me cringe. It makes me even like close one eye, like I just did when I ask it. I feel like you're always going to get something next that you're just like, ugh, what? So I try to take those words out. Let's think about this. Open and non-traditional approach and creating market data. It involves matching and leveling company, I assume goes there.
Yeah.
Offers with the biggest and best companies in tech. So just to think again, here's your value proposition. We can pick this up and we can deposit this in any of our competitors. I'm guessing relatively close competitors' value propositions. Then the buyer can say, we already do that, delete. Think Radford, but real time and no manual submissions. Yeah, we get our stuff in real time and manual is not an issue for us. Workday, NVIDIA, Stripe, Netflix. So pretty wide variety in terms of verticals there. If you have one or two competitors that you're working with that you are allowed to publicly say you work with, I would reference those there. But instead, just think about if you got Sharon or Adrian to respond, right? If you got their attention, if you got stuck with them in an elevator and they were like, tell me what you do about 30 seconds, you know how every single time you have this issue and how much of a pain in the ass it is would make that go away. What is that about you guys? I think if you flip that up in this with the show me, you know me and that value proposition, even if you don't get a meeting, my guess is you're going to get an open and you'll get a reply, significantly higher rate of response just for saying, thanks for making the effort. Too much time to talk about this here, but not enough time to talk about this here. What do we do when we get that response? Like that's what's in our shorts, you guys. So what do you do then? How do you connect on LinkedIn? How do you nurture them? How do you ask them properly for a referral? If you get a response, even if it's a no, you have an open door, so crack it open. Last thing I was going to say, I would also try to get to Adrian. So I always try to go higher versus lower. If I'm going to invest my time in 20 emails a week, I want to make it to the most senior person. She went to UF. She's in Atlanta. Boo, UF, Florida State. But she went to UF. She lives in Atlanta. There's tons you can reference there. I look at the rest of her profile. I would say the same thing about the Ripple Donors Choose. Side note, if you do use some of the same language and reaching out to the same people at different people at the same company, make sure when you're using that you change the words up just in case they exchange emails. We don't want it to look like a copy paste. We want it to look like you've authentically hand typed this. The last thing I'm going to say, oh, she was at Anaplan too. Great. Last thing I'm going to say on this, and then I'll let you run. Keep in mind what happens with the second email. So if you guys have time, create your show me, you know me emails and send them today. The second thing to do is to send that follow-up less than 48 hours afterwards. Same subject line, make sure there's a real RE in there, but simply say, wanted to pop in to see if you'd had a chance to read my below email. I would still be grateful for the chance to chat about how XYZ can support XYZ. If you're up for a chat, let me know. So you're not bubbling this up, dear God, pinging them, etc. But you're just saying, wanted to see if you'd had a chance to read it. And I'd still be grateful for, appreciative of the chance to chat. Semantics matter. We talk about that hashtag often. Do not use the word love. I'd love to tell you about us because what I think is, I bet you would. And then I delete your email. So just small changes like that. But because you're sending the second email, one less than 48 hours and two on a Saturday or Sunday, there's so much less competition for their time. And HBR talks about how executives normally work almost 7 hours every weekend. I can attest to that. So why not hit them when we know they're already working and try to get their attention then?
Love it. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks back, Whitney. Thanks for saying hello. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye.
Okay. So we have a little bit of a challenge for you. We're gonna get Colleen promoted in a second. And this email that her rep is trying to send out to a prospect who he's been trying to crack into for years. So
let's hear it. Yeah. Hi, Colleen. We can't hear you just yet or see you, but hopefully we will be able to soon. Huh? Hi, how's it going?
Hello. There I am.
Hi.
So a little bit of background on this. I actually just started this week with a new company as a director of sales and marketing.
Congrats.
Believe it or not, I have there's 5 salespeople. There's a VP who is actually going to retire, and eventually I'll take over his position. And then there's 4 salesmen, and I'm trying to train them how to say salespeople, but there's 4 salesmen who are all older than me, and I'm no spring chicken. And one of the guys is really excited. I've got all different personalities, and they all, are very loquacious, let me tell you. So anyway, the one guy who's very excited, because I live in the Cleveland area, and he has been going after Joanne for years, and they are based up here. So there's two main contacts. The one he's been going after has never responded to him. And I've read his emails to her, and I can tell why, because it's very him focused. Like, we do this, we do this, we do this. So he sent me a proposed email which I said, don't send that yet, to a new contact. And it's kind of the same situation that you just answered. Like, I looked at this girl's LinkedIn and she has like no information. So this is the one I want to share with you.
See ya.
And I haven't corrected anything. I kind of think I know what you're going to say, but I'm not going to say anything. Let's see if I can share it.
And for everybody on the line, is it Joanne Fabrics?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
So what we do, and I need to find.
It's in there somewhere.
It is. I'll show all windows. Let's see. Is this it? Word? I don't know what I'm going to share. Oh, no.
It's all been there.
Here it is. Okay. What we do is we do store merchandising, like you see in this picture here. So sign holders and fixtures and store decor packages. So he sent this to me. I just copied it out of his email. And I have the LinkedIn for the person. He put person that is going to take our appointment because he listed like 3 people that he thought we should target.
Cool. So I think you guys already know what's going to come most likely, right? One, we just need to see our subject line. If the odds are that this email has probably never been opened, especially if it's a pretty generic subject line. I will just say they're really quick. Industry averages, we've got a 6% open rate as an industry average and a 0.9%, not even a full percentage point, average response rate. So no wonder we're focused on quantity because we have to with those numbers. But as soon as you shift to quality, you'll see, again, higher open rates and massively better response rates. I'm guessing that this didn't get opened at all. When we
He didn't send this one yet. This is
okay.
the work in progress.
Probably the previous ones even, but if you think about it, even with a show me your Nobi subject line, the first sentence might be tough. I'm writing this brief note. I'm writing this brief note to you, relaying that company aspires to be a valuable. Okay, so we're all asleep already, right? I think what I would just say, asset assisting Joanne success stores, successful retail journey. We already have a successful retail journey. Bye. We would be thrilled to introduce you to our latest innovations. I'm sure you would. Our focus on demonstrating our solutions honed through partnership. I mean, we know where we're going here. So I would say, why you? They already have innovations in store decor sign holders and retail hardware. What we're basically doing when we do this is we're giving them the homework to look at the pictures and say, well, what does that look like for us? Instead, maybe we go and say, I visited a recent store. Here's something that we can do. Here's something I'm seeing that other retailers in your competitive market are doing that you guys have an opportunity to do as well. I'd love to talk to you more about why this matters and how this will increase revenue, whatever it is that title is looking to do. Interested in learning more. So think about this, and the objection, right, that we also want to consider is what do they say to that? So when we say your stores aren't cute, we can make them cuter. Could they say, well, we can just talk to our existing vendor about that. We just haven't visited that with our existing vendor. Why do you exist? What do you do? Why are you maybe not a commodity? And if you're like, we are a commodity, everybody does what we do. We're like, then we have to figure out a reason why we stand out. I would say potentially avoid the pictures in the first email. You can say I have a little presentation that I made, or maybe not a little presentation, but I avoid the pictures in the first email. It can get caught in spam filters, particularly for older organizations that might have stricter IT concerns, kind of those legacy companies. I think Joanne's been around for quite some time. But just think about a couple of things like that can make a difference. So our email actually gets through. Other thing that I would do is to make sure you take a look not only at common connections, but with someone brand new like you, Colleen, who do you know that they might know? I've shared this story a couple of times before, but super quick. Same exact experience with Morningstar. Hello, if anybody on Morningstar is on. But Morningstar, my rep Rachel had tried to crack in for 2.5 years. When she came on my team, I said, well, let me see who I know. And I saw that I knew someone. I didn't know the person she was trying to get into, but I knew someone who knew him. And I reached out to him. They were besties. And the person literally responded back to my friend and said, these people have been trying to get a hold of me for 2.5 years. I will take the meeting if it makes them go away. And we're like, we'll go away. Just give us the meeting. And so we got the meeting and we ended up getting a record-breaking multi-million-dollar deal. That's Rachel Friedman. If anybody wants to hire her, she's amazing. But just things like that, not only the common connections, but the who knows who. So you might know somebody who knows somebody at Joanne, and that's a great way to get in.
Right.
Helpful?
I mean, I've been in this industry for a long time. They did just have a big turnover too. You know, the other thing is he goes on to say, he talks about me hoping, that's a way to get in, like, hey, I have a new boss, which doesn't really matter because she doesn't know him. She doesn't know me. my kind of claim to fame here is I am a huge crafter. Like I'm in Joanne all the time, and I craft for myself and I craft for charity. So I'm thinking, well, maybe that's something. And the thing is like not everybody that works at Joanne is a crafter though, too.
That's true. Although I feel like you'd probably have some sort of passion for it, even though not as a retail employee, as a corporate employee, but you might have some passion there. But I think even still, you're a customer, right? You give them revenue. Right. You might even just try the angle of you reaching out to her as a different voice, and then use that. You use that in your subject line from a longtime Joanne enthusiast and crafter, plus something else, plus the company name, can go a long way. This is definitely too long. Only it's not the length, but it's because it's about us and a lot of stuff that does not matter to her or him or the 16 people we're reaching out to. But give that a shot. Let's try that.
Okay.
Cool.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome, Colleen. Thanks for coming today, and congrats on your new job.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right, Catherine.
Okay, so we have Joseph coming up here in a second to share his screen with an email he has. So let's see.
Hi, Joseph. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Hey, good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Real quick, I think we had engaged a little bit in the comments section of one of your posts. You definitely owe me a playbook of some sort. We'll talk about it later.
Call Catherine. It's probably her fault.
I'm going to share my screen here.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for coming today.
Absolutely. Okay. Can we see my screen?
Again.
Cool. So context, I'm on a new logo team at Salesforce, hunting all new business, specifically in SMB, a little below mid-market in terms of like segment size, and it is not industry specific. So I'm always crafting a lot of different outbound messaging and trying to just open up conversations with potential prospects.
Yeah, cool. Tell us, is it Ulu Ventures? Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Is Pontoro I assume it's under the umbrella of Ulu, yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Do you I'll talk about your email, but really quick, you work with all these, are all of these your clients? Do you own Ulu, or are they spread across your team?
Spread across the team.
Cool. Do you know if you work with anybody, are you in contact with anybody on the teams at Ulu specifically?
Not me directly, but I do know individuals who are.
Cool. I think just from a strategic perspective, one of the first things I'd offer is as somebody else on your team also owns Ulu Ventures specifically, I'm guessing, right? Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. You might just partner with them, right? We want to make sure not to step on any toes and territories and things like that. But you might partner with them and say, hey, like, I've got an umbrella, one of the umbrella companies, one of the portcos of this, we'll just call them UV. UV, we already have a bunch of existing clients. There's a great way in here. Why do some of their portcos and the companies they invest in already work with us, but not everybody does? And you guys, for any of you guys that are here as part of an enterprise team, and you have something similar like this, right, where there's one umbrella company like an Alphabet that owns just a ton of companies under that, think about this smart strategy of how you guys can partner together and just land and expand, basically, as if you were landing and expanding, even though you're killing it with net new logos. I would think your subject line is pretty solid. So Ulu Ventures, I would maybe just make reference to our existing work with Ulu Ventures, right? To say like, your brands already trust us. Recent funding. So let's talk about where this comes from. For anybody that doesn't know, this is what's called a compelling event. So a compelling event is, you get notifications in LinkedIn Sales Nav or any of your applications that say somebody got funding, or they're hiring, or somebody got promoted, and you're like, and then you reach out and you're like, congrats. Who else is doing that? Everybody else, right? We think about how we did a campaign for Tesla, right? And what did everybody do at the same time as us? Everybody reached out and said, congrats on getting on the S&P 500. Want to buy my stuff? No. So think about how, when you think about compelling events, I think those are great things to utilize. Don't be generic, be different. Go one level deeper. what else is happening with them? So what else is happening with Pantoro? What's happening with this gentleman specifically? Is there something in his profile? Has he posted something? Did he post specifically about the funding round, what they're going to do with it, how hard it was? I'm so excited to do this in the market. What can we show that we did our homework instead of just got an alert that said funding success? And I would lead with that, and I would probably do, we've yet to be properly introduced. I'm thrilled to see that these brands already work with us. And I wonder if we can be of value to you in the same way that we've been of value to them. And then let's look, Salesforce proud partner, okay. I think you can also just kill the operational excellence and growth. Unless you're living under a rock, you know what Salesforce is. So I think you can kill that stuff. And then from what I gather, Pantoro is trying to open up a whole new opportunity for participation in real world private market assets. Is that a fact? Like, do you know that that's definitely what they're doing? Cool.
That's like a part of one of their like news briefs on their website. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I would say I think this is super nitpicky, but from what I gather, tells me like, I think this is it versus like, you're confident as all hell that this is it, right? And so what? Yeah, that is what we're doing. Now what? So let's look at this. The article in Business Wire highlighted your plans to announce an expanded leadership team, usually after funding round. Is your corresponding shift in focus towards go-to-market strategy, considering Salesforce is now strategic, setting a strong foundation. Considering Salesforce now is strategic, setting a strong foundation for future growth. Would you be open to a brief discussion on how Salesforce can align with your vision? No. So I just say, one, this is a relatively good email, right? So I'm going to pick it apart anyway, but it's not the worst thing I've seen by any means. So kudos to you. I think what you just want to think about is this poor guy, Antonio, is probably getting, especially because of the funding, right? Is probably getting, I don't know, God knows how many of these a day. So what is it that you can do to stand out? Given that you are expanding your leadership team and looking for new opportunities for participation in real world private markets, which I've done extensive research on what you guys are planning to do. Here's a specific way we can help. And then what is that? So again, stuck on the elevator for 30 minutes, 30 seconds, seconds. What do you say to him where you can make an impact? What's worth his time? And I think I spied it, but he's a C-suite. Can we look at his LinkedIn profile?
CEO. Yeah, we can look at that right now.
I'm just looking at Ashley's chat about 96 times. Holy cannoli, Ashley. CEO, how long has he been there? Oh, his phone number. Don't cold call him. Annie lists his phone number. Annie lists his email. How long has he been there? 4 years, 1 month. Where was he before? Was it Peloton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe don't mention about their stock.
I don't think that's I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the same Peloton.
You're totally right. It's not. The logo's different. Then feel free to. I think just if you pop up really to the top, look at his accolades. Keep going up. Yeah. So he wants you to know that he's amazing, right? There's a lot of executives who have achieved tremendous things who are like, I don't feel comfortable. He's fine with it, right? So you can also take something away from this to see that he's competitive, he's aggressive, he wants to win. Like, that's what I'm getting from his profile. So think about that, right? He's gotten new funding. He needs to do something with it. He's also going to be responsible for either those investors or a board of some kind of how are you spending this money to make things happen? And I think that's something we don't often realize at the executive level is like, you're not hoarding this cash. You got it to spend it and grow. We want to see something happen. So think about what you can do there. Even maybe leverage this and say, let's blow your 29% of compound annual public equity out of the water. Let's turn that into some real money, right? I wouldn't say that because you haven't met him yet and that might offend him, but give that a shot, right? Put some meat together. And since I owe you something, by the way, feel free to send me your revamped email. I'll take a look at it afterwards and then I can give you some more pointers if you want to give it a go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for saying hi. How are we on time? 9 more minutes. Plenty of time to go.
We have a little time. I did want to ask a quick question because I know a lot of people always ask us this. What do you do or how do you segment your prospecting for Show Me You Know Me when you're trying to determine who to really put the research behind versus doing Show Me You Know Me at scale?
Yeah, I would, in terms of where you even start, so how you segment your accounts out first and foremost, I would go after your lowest hanging fruit, thinking about two different ways to do that. So one, it might be that you guys are signing hundreds of contracts right now with pharma or biomedical organizations or whatever. If that tends to be, if there's something driving the market for that particular vertical, go after that first. The other thing that I would say is if you have, so one of the things that I did early in my career was I saw that we had a footprint with 3 of the largest law firms in the world and nothing else. So I interviewed them. I understood why, what's our value proposition? Why did they use us? And then I turned that into a whole lot more law firms. So start there. But then once you've got your accounts narrowed by vertical or account that you're going to go after, go high. So I would tell you that it is scary to go high. The biggest concern we get is like, what if they respond? What do I say? That's the beauty of email and not cold calling. You can get some help when they reply. But go high, right? Again, the higher you go in the organization title-wise, you need to make sure it's relevant to what you do. So don't email the CEO of General Electric, probably not responding, and there's like 19 of them across business units. But think about who's generally the decision maker. Who do you work with first? And then they say, I'm going to bring in my boss, and you're like, things just got real. Okay, like the real DM is coming in. This is going to be big. Who's that person? Start to reach out to them. I would go there first. When you reach out to those individuals, just think, people are not doing their research. They're not making an effort. They're sending the same generic stuff to everybody that everyone else is getting. So when you go high and you compete against, again, chief logistics officer of that $3.4 billion company, my rhyme was Schmorry Birch. Anyway, when you think about reaching out to somebody like that, they're going to look at your email compared to everyone else's and just say, thank God, somebody who actually did the effort, actually made the time to look at our stuff and find a way to value us. That's who they're going to give their time to. So that's who I would give my time to back.
Excellent.
I'll stop yelling.
Made. Okay. We are going to promote David here to ask one more question about an email. And if we have time, maybe answer another question before we say goodbye to everybody.
Cool. While we tee David up, I was just going to say, there is no one that we know of that tries this and doesn't have unbelievable success. If you look at the quotes on our website, this has saved jobs, changed how people sell, just insane pipeline creation. Make the investment in learning how to do this. It'll really pay off. Hi, David. Hopefully you are not in this field right now, which is gorgeous behind you in your screenshot. Or that one.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Here. Yeah. Hey, Sam. Hey, everybody. Hi. So I'm wondering if you can see the screen now. Yes or no?
Yeah, we can see it just fine.
Okay, perfect. So context, and I know we're running out of time, so I'll be really brief. Gentleman we're reaching out to is the senior director of Tesla, and I work for a company that is in the chip business. Mm-hmm. So our job is to try to design in our chips for these high performance AI systems that we all hear about in the news. This gentleman, I have a relationship with him, but he's gone cold on me. And I've tried texting, phone calls, and I'm having my director of sales and my VP reach out to him directly. So this is an email we crafted. Mm-hmm. And I was just wanting to see what kind of feedback you would give based on your training. I think there are some changes I would make to this, but I just wanted to see what you thought.
Yeah. What a great spot for you guys to be in chip wise, this day and age. I would say you've already, tell me about your interaction with him before. Have you actually had a meeting with him before?
We met with, and I set up a meeting at a conference earlier this year that was specific to the program that he runs and with his engineering lieutenants. Put it that way, right? So they know who we are. Yeah.
Okay. So why do we tell them who we are again in the beginning? Cool.
Good question.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and it's again like a commonality, right? It's something we see often, but I would cut that out. I would lead. We met with your team. You may or may not remember, but we met with your team during the OFC conference this year for introductions, kick off our relationship. I would pretty sure the B of Bay Area is capitalized. Just a quick grammar check. I'm not entirely confident, but I'm pretty sure. I would actually put that in your subject line in SF 921 or whatever the week is. If you're going to be there in a couple of days, I would put that front and center. You're pretty close in the subject line, but keep in mind that it might just look like, hey, do you want to meet on this date? And they're like, no. So if you just say, I'm going to be in person, right? Hopefully a little bit more urgency for them to open it. The other thing that I would do is we talk about not using links in the first email. I would roll the dice on this one, and I would include the links of your executives. So Ryan, David, and yourself. You might just put Ryan and more of our team and a few members of our team, or just leave David. Give them a chance, give Ganesh a chance to look at their profiles and see that you guys are worth his time, seniority, expertise, etc. And then I would cut those 2 paragraphs to say something along the lines of, given your focus here, there are 3 specific things that we'd like to cover in this meeting where we believe we can be of value to you. And then maybe just dive a little bit more into the challenge and then again, getting around that objection. I realize this is in the past now. Are you still going to the Bay Area, or do you have a chance to rinse and repeat?
Yeah, well, I'm based here in the Bay Area, so it's my team that's remote, but
Okay.
they frequently visit the territory, and we're trying to get in really aggressively with these guys. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We also, if Ryan and the other David, if they travel quite frequently, and if they're like, put me on a plane if you can get this meeting, I would just say in the Bay Area on 10/21 or whatever a non-weekend date is. You don't need to already have the trip booked in order to do it, although people love, right, to continue booking meetings when they're already traveling. But just say that, and then we'll make it happen, right? If he says yes, make sure obviously the meeting is worth seniority and
Yes.
revenue size. Other than that, I think it's fine. The only thing I would say is maybe just leave it a little bit more open-ended time-wise. I know it's in person, but if you say we'll be here 21 through 23, should any time within that, except for 4 to 5 on this day, work for you? We'd love to find time to meet in your schedule. It's not often that it happens, but somebody can say, I'm not available Tuesday, Thursday at 2. And then you're like, are you available Thursday 1? And then you begin that advance. Yeah. But hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for jumping on, David.
Yeah, I
Nice to
appreciate
meet
it.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
We'll close out. I know we're at time with 1 minute to go. But hopefully this was helpful first and foremost. Please keep coming to our events. If this was helpful, please share us with your network on LinkedIn, more the merrier. We're obviously trying to do everything that we can to change the landscape of sales. And thanks for just being participants and blowing up the chat today too. Great to support each other and have all these questions. So thank you, everybody. And thank you for my lovely co-hosts. Appreciate you 3. Bye, you guys.